Told you earlier about the amazing collapse in the Labor vote in Western Australia in the latest poll. The Liberals at the last election were actually down to just 2 seats in the lower house. Now they are way ahead in the polls, and for one reason, well, there are a number of reasons, the resignation of the very popular Premier, but another reason seems to be its disastrous new Aboriginal heritage laws. Now, these laws came in this month, and they stop anyone with more than 1,100 square metres of land from doing any major new work on it without paying some local Aboriginal group to check if it will disturb any Aboriginal heritage. Costs, delays, and you know the rest. And already, indeed, some activists have used this, or actually misused this law, to say, well, look, you know, you can't plant these trees on this land, or demanding $2.5 million before they let volunteers plant their shrubs. Farmers are, of course, furious, and support, meanwhile, for the voice in WA has also fallen through the floor. But it's not just opponents of the voice that think this Aboriginal heritage protection law goes too far. And joining me is Greg McIntyre, senior counsel, who's a voice supporter, who's worked with the Aboriginal Legal Service, has worked on the High Court Mabo case, established native title. Greg McIntyre, thank you very much for joining me. You say this law is unworkable. Why is that?
Well, it doesn't work for either Aboriginal people or small property owners. Because surprisingly, the government has decided to put into place these regulations which say that the 3-tier test, is to be sorted out by how deep the hole is, which somebody on their land chooses to dig. So if it's more than half a metre, then they have to do a due diligence assessment. And it's rather unclear as to how they would do that. As you say, the part of the legislation is to set up local Aboriginal cultural heritage services, but they largely don't exist. And the regulations come into place on the 1st of July. We now have 4 out of the 46 of those local bodies have been set up. If a farmer wanted to carry out a due diligence test, they need to ask somebody at least, and that mechanism is just not there. So I don't know who thought that was a good idea. I mean, if you dig a half a metre hole in what is an Aboriginal site, then you've probably damaged it significantly anyway. So